Good morning, everyone. We are Kyle Adrian Baraka, AC Doctorero, and Russell Lucarello, and today we will be presenting our thesis proposal titled Barriers to Physical Therapy Access Among Marginalized Communities in Iloilo City. Globally, access to healthcare and rehabilitation services remains a significant challenge, with over 50% of those in need not receiving it. Physical therapy is an essential service for managing various health conditions and improving mobility. Yet, marginalized groups often face significant disparities in access. In Iloilo City, specifically in areas exceeding national poverty thresholds, there's a strong concern that residents are underserved in rehabilitation care. Despite national efforts, there's a critical lack of local data documenting specific physical therapy access barriers in these communities, which our study aims to address.
So, for our research questions and objectives, our main research question is: what are the barriers to accessing physical therapy services among marginalized communities in Iloilo City? And to answer this, our objectives are as follows. First, to describe the demographic characteristics of our participants. Second, to identify the specific barriers they face in accessing PT services. And third, to rank these barriers, ranking them from the most and the least prevalent. And for our conceptual framework, we have chosen patient-centered access, where it integrates broad dimensions that consider both the demand side and the supply side influences on healthcare utilization. For the significance of the study, this study holds significant implications for the marginalized community members. It will inform targeted interventions directly improving their access to care, mobility, and overall quality of life. So, for physical therapy students and practitioners, it will foster empathy, guide patient centered practice, and encourage interprofessional collaboration. And for policymakers, the findings will serve as crucial evidence to design effective policies, to allocate resources strategically, and evaluate existing programs under the Universal Healthcare Act. And finally, it will provide a baseline for future researchers to build upon. So, for the scope, limitations, and theoretical framework, our study focuses on adult residents aged 18 and above, specifically in Barangay Bacau San Juan, Barangay San Juan Molo, and Kalumpang, Iloilo City. Using a quantitative cross-sectional survey, we will examine access to public sector or clinic-based PT services. And our limitations include the exclusion of minors, non-residents, and private clinics, and the use of a self-administered questionnaire. Our research is guided by the Levesque et al. Patient-Centered Access Framework. This framework identifies 5 key dimensions of accessibility: approachability, which is about awareness; acceptability, related to cultural attitudes; availability and accommodation, concerning the physical existence and organization of services; affordability, addressing financial costs; and appropriateness, reflecting the perceived quality and fit of services. This framework is vital as it allows us to examine barriers from both the service provider's perspective and the patient's perspective.
For our methodology, we will employ a quantitative descriptive research design. The study will be conducted in 3 selected marginalized barangays in Iloilo City: Bacau Mandurriao, San Juan Molo, and Kalumpang Molo, chosen based on poverty thresholds and community indexes. We will utilize purposive sampling, aiming for a target sample of 100 adult residents who are identified as needing physical therapy services. Our primary data collection tool will be a researcher-made questionnaire. Part 1 will gather demographic and socioeconomic information. Part 2 consists of select all that apply statements on perceived barriers derived directly from our literature review and the 5 dimensions of the VESCI framework. This instrument will undergo rigorous content validity testing by experts to ensure its clarity and cultural appropriateness.
So for our data gathering procedure involves 3 phases: the pre-implementation phase, implementation phase, and a post-implementation phase. So for the pre-implementation phase, it includes developing our instrument, thus obtaining ethical clearance from St. Paul University Iloilo's Research Ethics Review Committee, and validating the survey tool. During the implementation phase, which will last 3 weeks, we will collect data from our 100 participants using a dual approach: coordinated door-to-door visits and operating survey stations in barangay halls and health centers. So the post-implementation phase will involve meticulous data encoding and analysis using SPSS. So throughout the study, we prioritize ethical considerations. Participation will be entirely voluntary, with written informed consent obtained from each participant, and responses will be recorded anonymously and kept confidential, so ensuring minimal risks to our participants. So for our data analysis, we will exclusively use descriptive statistics, employing frequency counts and percentages. This will allow us to characterize participant demographics, quantify the prevalence of each identified barrier, and ultimately rank the top 3 and least 3 barriers to PT access. So results will be presented in a clear summary tables. So the findings of this study will be actively utilized. We plan to disseminate them to LGUs, PTs, and policymakers at St. Paul University Iloilo and directly to the community participants. So our goal is to translate these findings into tangible actions, such as developing targeted programs, adapting service delivery models, advocating for policy changes, and integrating this local evidence into academic curricula, ensuring our research contributes directly to improving healthcare in Iloilo City. So in conclusion, this research addresses an urgent need for localized data on physical therapy access barriers in Iloilo City's marginalized communities. So our study will provide the first objective, data-driven snapshot of this problem, shifting the conversation from assumption to evidence. Thus, this foundational work will contribute significantly to developing targeted, effective, and equitable healthcare solutions. So looking ahead, this research opens avenues for future longitudinal studies, pilot testing interventions, and adapting our survey tool for similar contexts, thus furthering our understanding and impact.
This concludes our presentation. Thank you, and we are now open for questions and suggestions that you may have regarding our proposal.